A woman asked if the basement was still locked. "We don't have one." She said it casually, the way customers ask where the restroom is or whether the coffee's fresh. No urgency, no humor, just a practical question, delivered while she stood at the counter with her hands folded around nothing. "Is the basement still locked?" I looked past her, through the glass doors, at the empty road and the sodium lights humming in the dark. Midnight had settled in fully. No traffic, no wind, just the low electrical buzz that never leaves this place. When I looked back at her, she was watching me expectantly, like I'd paused too long before answering. "We don't have a basement," I said. The words landed flat. They always do. This building is a slab-on-grade convenience store dropped onto concrete and gravel, built fast and cheap decades ago. One floor, no stairs, no sublevels. I know every square foot of it because I've walked it 1,000 times during night shifts when there's nothing else to do. She smiled, small and polite, as if I'd corrected myself aloud. "Oh," she said. "So it's still locked, then?" The lights above the aisles flickered once. Not enough to draw attention, just a brief thinning of brightness, like a held breath. The refrigerator compressors along the back wall kicked on in sequence, their hum rolling through the floor. I felt it in my shoes, a faint vibration that lingered longer than it should have. "There's no basement," I repeated. "You might be thinking of another store." She shook her head, slowly, deliberately. "No," she said. "This one. I've been here before." Her voice had a steadiness to it that unsettled me. Not defensive, not confused. Certain in the way people get when they're recalling something mundane. I noticed then how cold it felt near the counter, like the air conditioning vent was aimed directly at my ankles, though the thermostat behind me read normal. "You were working," she added. "Not you but someone else. Same counter, same floor." She tapped her foot once, lightly. The sound that answered it wasn't the sharp slap of rubber on tile. It was duller, hollow. The store went quiet in that way that only happens late at night, when the machines sync up and there's nothing left to mask the building's own sounds. Somewhere beneath us, something creaked. Not wood, not metal, but a low complaint that traveled upward through the soles of my feet. "There is no basement," I said more firmly now. "This building doesn't have one." She leaned closer, resting her elbows on the counter. The fluorescent light cast a faint shadow under her eyes, deeper than it should have been. "They keep it locked," she said. "They always have. But you can hear it if you stand still." As if on cue, the hum of the refrigerators dipped, then resumed. In that brief gap, I heard it. A soft, distant knocking. 3 slow impacts, spaced evenly, as if someone below were testing the ceiling for weak points. I swallowed. "That's the compressors," I said. "Pipes. The slab settling." She watched my face instead of listening. "That's what they told me too." I stepped away from the counter and went to the back office. The door stuck as always, wood swollen from years of humidity. Inside, the air was warmer, stale. I flipped on the light and pulled the binder from the filing cabinet, the one with inspection reports, permits, the original floor plan yellowed at the edges. Paper rustled. The sound felt too loud. The diagram was simple. A rectangle divided into aisles, coolers, storage. A thick line marked the concrete slab, continuous and unbroken. No substructure, the note said. No access below grade. I traced the line with my finger. Solid. Certain. From the other side of the wall, the store made a sound like a distant sigh. The vibration came again, stronger this time, rattling the metal shelves just enough to make the candy wrappers whisper. When I returned to the counter, the woman had moved. She was standing near the drink coolers, one hand pressed flat against the floor, as if feeling for heat or listening. "You shouldn't do that," I said. She looked up at me, startled, as if she'd forgotten I was there. "It's colder than it used to be," she said. "That's how you know it's waking up." "There is nothing under the floor," I said, holding the binder up between us. "I've checked. The foundation is solid." She walked back toward me slowly, her footsteps oddly muted. Each step sent a faint tremor through the tile, subtle but undeniable, like something below was responding in kind. Solid doesn't mean empty, she said. It just means closed. The lights flickered again, longer this time. Shadows stretched down the aisles, bending in ways that didn't match the fixtures above. I felt a draft brush past my calves, cold and damp, rising straight up through the floor as if the concrete were breathing. "Why are you asking about this?" I asked. "What do you want?" She hesitated, and for the first time her certainty wavered. "I don't know," she said. "Sometimes I think I came back to make sure it stayed locked. Sometimes I think I came back because it didn't." The knocking came again, closer now. Not louder, just more present, as if the space beneath us had shifted nearer without actually moving. "I remember stairs," she said softly. "I remember going down. I remember how the sound changes when the door closes behind you." "There are no stairs," I said. She met my eyes. "There aren't anymore." The hum of the store steadied. The lights stopped flickering. Everything returned to normal with unsettling speed. When I blinked, she was already walking toward the door. As she pushed it open, she paused. "If you hear it start to answer back," she said without turning around, "don't unlock anything, even if you're sure it was never there." The door closed. The bell rang once, sharp and bright. I stood alone behind the counter, binder still open to the floor plan. The slab line looked thicker than before, or maybe it always had. Beneath the steady hum of the refrigerators, something shifted, slow, patient, testing the underside of a floor that, according to every record I had, shouldn't have had anything below it at all. The store's mirror showed me aging rapidly. I noticed it first in the lull after midnight, when the store settles into its true shape. The rush drains away, the automatic doors stop gasping open, and the fluorescent lights hum with a tired insistence that feels personal, like they're keeping themselves awake out of spite. That's when reflections start to feel less decorative and more observant. The mirror is mounted behind the counter, angled so employees can see the aisles without turning around. It's old, slightly warped at the corners, its silver backing freckled with dark spots that look like distant weather. I've seen myself in it 1,000 times. Pale, underslept, shoulders slumped in the uniform polo that never quite dries right after washing. That night, my reflection looked older. Not dramatically so, just wrong. The skin around my eyes seemed thinner, etched with lines that hadn't been there at the start of my shift. My mouth sagged at the corners, pulled down by a gravity I didn't feel in my face. I leaned closer, squinting, blaming the mirror, the lighting, the hour. The reflection leaned too, but a fraction of a second late. I straightened. It followed, delayed just enough to make my stomach tighten. The hum of the lights deepened, or maybe I was just listening harder. The cold tile pressed up through my shoes, numbing my toes. Somewhere behind the shelves, something clicked as it cooled. "You need sleep," I muttered, and the mirror mouthed the words after me slower. I laughed, a short sound that echoed strangely in the empty aisles, and turned away to restock cigarettes. When I looked back, the mirror had settled. My face looked like mine again. Tired, yes, but familiar. I tried to forget about it. The problem with night shifts is that there's too much time to notice things. You become acutely aware of the store's breathing, the compressors cycling, the faint whistle of air through vents that never quite close, the way the building ticks as it cools. You notice how the shadows under the shelves shift even when nothing passes by. Around 1:30, I went to the back for a drink. The mirror caught me again, and this time the change was unmistakable. My hairline had retreated, gray threaded through it like frost. My neck sagged, cords standing out as if my head were heavier. My eyes looked tired in a way sleep couldn't fix. I raised a hand to my face. The reflection did not. For a heartbeat, it simply watched me, head tilted, expression patient. Then, slowly, it lifted its hand and pressed its fingers against the glass from the other side. Where they touched, the mirror darkened, as if bruising. I stumbled back, my heel skidding on tile. The reflection jerked forward a moment later, its movement sloppy, unbalanced. Its posture had collapsed, spine curved inward, shoulders hunched with a weight I didn't feel yet. I pulled out my phone with shaking hands and snapped a photo. On the screen, the mirror showed exactly what it should. A tired man in his 30s, fluorescent lights buzzing above him, aisles empty and orderly. No gray, no sagging skin, no other hand pressed against the glass. When I looked up, the older version of me was smiling. The bell over the door jingled, sharp and sudden. I nearly dropped my phone. A customer, college kid, hoodie pulled tight against the cold, grabbed an energy drink and paid without comment. As he left, I glanced at the mirror again. Normal. Completely infuriatingly normal. "See?" the kid said, catching my eye as if he could tell I was rattled. "Quiet night." "Yeah," I said. "Real quiet." After he left, the store felt larger, stretched thin. The aisles seemed longer, the ceiling higher. The hum of the lights pressed down on me, making my temples throb. I avoided looking at the mirror, focusing instead on busywork. Wiping counters that were already clean, straightening displays that hadn't moved. It was worse when I stood still. Every time I paused, every time my thoughts drifted. About my dad's hands shaking near the end, about how quickly months had slipped by since I started working nights. The mirror pulled me back. Wrinkles deepened. Spots bloomed on my skin like time-lapse photography. My reflection's breathing grew labored, chest hitching with effort. I tried recording video. I held the phone steady, pointed directly at the glass. Narrating what I was seeing like that might anchor it to reality. Nothing. The footage showed a man talking to himself, gesturing at his own unchanged face, voice rising with panic over a threat that refused to appear on screen. I deleted it, my fingers numb. Around 3, Marlene came in to pick up a prescription. She used to work nights here, back before she left suddenly. As people put it, no one ever explained why. She just stopped showing up, and her name vanished from the schedule like it had been erased. She squinted at me over the counter. "You look tired," she said. "You okay?" I glanced at the mirror. For a terrible second, I saw myself as she must have, ancient, bent, eyes sunken deep into a skull that had learned too much about waiting. Then it snapped back. "Yeah," I said. "Just a long shift." She followed my gaze, frowned at the mirror. "That thing always made me uneasy," she said. "Funny how you never notice it until you're alone." "What do you mean?" I asked. She shrugged. "Nothing. Probably why I left." She smiled, paid, and walked out without another word. The aging accelerated after that. Each time I looked, years fell away from me like layers peeled back too fast. My reflection's hair thinned to wisps. Liver spots crawled across its hands. Its eyes, my eyes, held a sharp, hungry awareness that made my skin crawl. It started reaching toward me more often, its movements smoother now, more confident. Sometimes it lagged behind. Sometimes it anticipated me, smiling before I did, frowning before the thought even formed. By the time dawn threatened the windows with pale gray, my legs ached with a fatigue I hadn't earned. The mirror showed me hunched, ancient, mouth stretched into a knowing grin. I stood there, alone, fluorescent hum roaring in my ears, and realized with a sick clarity that it wasn't showing me my future. It was trying to catch up. The reflection pressed its palm to the glass again, fingers splayed, smiling like it had all the time in the world. And somewhere between one heartbeat and the next, I wasn't sure which side of the mirror was getting closer.